when you are hearing these monsters or these zombies or whatever it is that you're hearing, some scream, some roar, some screech, like in the Alien movies, right? What are you actually hearing? I want you to think about this for a minute. All of you, what are you hearing? What are you hearing when you hear these roar? Why would an animal roar? Why would an animal screech? You see, what we do, or what I used to do, when we wanted to go and get sounds, for instance, a gorilla makes an incredible roar for a dragon, right? Or a tiger or a lion. A bear, right? So we have all this big catalog of screams and roars and what, but what do we have to do to get that? Do we go out in nature and just hope that the bear does that? No, we go to a zoo or some animal holding place for the pound for dogs, etc. And in order to get those sounds, you have to poke and prod and torture these animals. You're hearing the absolute suffering and pain of these animals. You're hearing a captive animal who is being tortured essentially to get the sound. I'll give you an example. When you want a really good high-pitched screech that you would put to the Alien movies, for instance, you would go and record pigs getting castrated. They don't give them any kind of Novocaine or anything to numb their pain. They just snip. And do not. There's no empathy whatsoever towards these beautiful, beautiful creatures. They cause them pain, and we're there with our boom mics to record, and our shotgun mics to record that pain. And you get these. In terms of my art that I used to participate in, you get these perfect, wonderful screams that can be applied to these monsters that you're hearing in these video games. But what you're really hearing is the suffering, the pain, the absolute anguish of these beautiful creatures who are held captive and tortured. Now, to me, that is enough to stop playing video games. That is enough to say I can't do this and I can't participate in this horror anymore. Now I know, because I'm hyper empathetic, that most people probably would not take that position, but for me that's enough. That is the crisis of conscience. That is enough for me to know that, now for you to know that you can't ignore it anymore, and that when you hear those screams, next time you play that game or watch that movie, you're hearing pain, you're hearing suffering, and it's giving you pleasure. That's disgusting.
You tell me that all the time they do this? It's never simulated with a computer or something like that?
Oh, sure. You take. So what you do is you take the gorilla scream or you take the bear scream, and if you listen, you'll hear, for instance, scraping metal, or what else did I used to use? Like, scraping metal is the best, because you add the scraping metal to the sound of that roar, and it creates like a monster type of sound. You can combine different animals and make different sounds. The TIE fighter. Remember Star Wars?
Yes.
The sound that the TIE fighter makes. Yeah, that's an elephant screaming backwards. And it turns out that they were right all those years, that video games do, in fact, and are designed to affect the empathy level, the moral compass of children, especially, and adults. So as soon as I heard this interview, That was it. That was the click. That was what I call my crisis of conscience. I said, what the hell am I doing? Here I have these demons on my screen that I'm making for Resident Evil. And I went around and I asked the other guys, because some of them were Christians, some of them were not. And I asked them, I said, how is it that, do you ever get bothered by this? Is there something about this that makes you want to stop doing this because you're supporting something that is against your religion or against your moral fiber or whatever it is that affects you? And they said, oh yeah, absolutely. And essentially their answer is, but I have children, I have this, I'm sold out. I sold out. I can't stop this. No matter how bloody and gory and disgusting and immoral it gets, I can't stop this. And I kept asking people, and I kept getting the same answer. And to me, that was the wrong answer. That is what made me stop, because I was like, I don't want to be you. I'm at this point making, getting close to making probably $100,000, $100,000 a year, which is pretty good. I was up to $30 an hour, I believe, something like that, 35. And I quit. I said, no, I don't want to be you. I don't want to get myself into debt, have children, get married, etc., only to become you, a sellout, a self-professed sellout. I don't want to be you. And it was that interview and later on a video that I saw of the same thing that made me quit, because I am creating the content to destroy children's empathy and adults. I'm creating the content and the sounds to make demons come to life. Why am I doing this? This is not who I am. Yes, it sounds cool. Kids, kids, when they hear what I did for a living, kids were like, oh, that's so cool. And it sounds really cool. But the reality of it is this. It's disgusting. It's a monstrous, horrible thing to do for a living. And I don't know if people can really relate to that or grasp that, but that is my story. That is how I quit, because I could not be a part of what I was creating to further destroy whatever moral compass is left in people. Separate yourself from these systems, from these governments, from these nations. Go to the hills, go to the rocks, whatever. Do not try to live amongst those who are not like-minded. Why the hell do you think I got out of LA so fast? Right? I don't want to be in LA. LA is a shithole. LA is the most immoral, disgusting place you'll ever be. I saw people bring their kids to Hollywood Boulevard where I worked. I used to work right across from where they hold the awards. And the Chinese Grauman Theater was right down the street, right? People would bring their children there, and I'm like, how could you bring children to this disgusting place? It's disgusting. It's really dirty, and it's there's nothing redeeming about this. Why would you bring your children here? It's just that we don't have the kind of culture that has that moral law behind it, that moral conscience. We've all grown up thinking that disgusting shit is normal. So I'm not going to ban anybody. I'm not going to say you can't do this. I just want to get the fuck away from you. I want to get the hell away from you and start my own society with like-minded people who don't want anything to do with that. You see, you don't try to defeat it. You don't try to stop Babylon. You don't try to stop the disgusting nature of Hollywood and everybody that's involved in that. You leave it. You stop participating in it. Yeah. And you find people who are like-minded, right? That's my personal take on it. I got to talk to the writers of the scripts who would often attend the meetings. And one of their biggest complaints was that they had to agree to change their script. They in order for a company, a games company, to actually publish and pay them for their script writing, they would have to agree to, of course, changes to the script. And so I'd see them cringe whenever like a line would come up and they change the line, and they just get so upset about it because it would be something ridiculous. Like they would say, I remember one, it was, thank God that Homeland Security was here to save us. They will change the script in order to be pro government, pro military, especially pro military. So, and you find that throughout all of Hollywood. But yeah, that's what their biggest complaint was, that they had to submit to the changes in the scripts, and it would always, like I said, always be pro military, pro government, or it would be kind of what you look into, which is this sort of esoteric, even theosophical kind of stuff that nobody really would see. The checkered floor, for instance, or the the Masonic stuff,
or some kind of numbers, right, with significance.
Right. This is why I quit. Keep in mind, Hollywood, the wood of the holly tree, which, not by accident, is what Harry Potter's wand is made out of. That is the holy sacred wood of witchcraft.
So what do you think of transhumanism? Because I've seen a lot of transhumanist propaganda and media and in video games today. So what do you think? Do you think that plays a part, and what should we do with that?
Oh, we just did a show on this, actually, about black goo and the black awakening and all that stuff. It's very scary to me, what's happening with that. It's portrayed in games and movies, hundreds and hundreds of movies. This notion of what we're really talking about is programmable matter, right? So if you consider that what is matter? Matter can be anything from an issue that's brought up in court to pus to anything that exists is basically called matter. So if you think about the notion of God's creation or the design of nature, you could say, if you wanted to, you could say that we are all programmed matter. We are all programmed according to the laws of nature. Excuse me, right? If you again, applying the metaphor, we're all programmable matter. We are set to exist in a situation where we need air, we need water, we need food, we need love, we need all these things, right? We need what is the creation of God, i.e., Jehovah, right? So, and again, once you understand what that means, existence itself, then the universe and the atmosphere and everything else, then you understand, okay, we need God to exist. We are part of God, in other words. We are part of the whole. And that's a beautiful concept, one that the church will never teach because it wants to keep you away. Religion is more responsible for a lack of spirituality in people than anything. So if you consider that, and you consider that we are matter and we are essentially, if you will, programmed genetically and epigenetically in our bodies to what is nature. And you look around, you see they're geoengineering, they're changing the air quality, it seems like they're almost terraforming the earth, right? To make it more friendly to whatever. That's what it seems like. And so if you consider the notion right now, what they're working on is this programmable matter, which is smart dust, and which is, you can have a vat of black goo, as they call it, and you can program into that vat the notion that you want to put a design in, and it's a chair, because you need an extra chair for your party tonight. And out of that vat, for these molecules, this matter, these nano machines, this technology clumps to each other and forms a chair. And you take that chair out of that vat, you use it for the night, and when you're done with it, you put it back into the vat, and you program it to become goo again. And so the nanobots detach from each other and become this sort of programmable matter. It's just waiting for its next command. This is real technology. They've already done this, right? So I'm not just speaking science fiction here. This is real stuff. What we're talking about is what we're scared about is something called ecophagy, which is where programmable matter starts replicating itself and programming itself to the point where humans no longer have control of it. That is perhaps, and the programmable matter keeps growing and growing because it has the entire Earth to use as fuel, and it takes over the entire ecosystem. That is actually a theory posited back in the 1970s when all this started happening, this technology growth. And this is why I'm against technology at this point. I'm ready to go back, and that doesn't mean I'm against a plow. It doesn't mean I'm against something that I can use manually, but this kind of technology that is completely out of control, which is the very basis of the movie The Matrix, an out-of-control technology, or the Terminator series, an out-of-control technology. This is much more frightening because this is smart dust that can enter into your body and change you. Right? It can change your genetic makeup. It can alter your consciousness. So imagine that getting out of control and taking over, just changing the entire biosphere of the world. So I find that a very frightening and unfortunately very realistic concept. I got to tell people, man, spiritual awakening is not a pleasant thing. It's a painful journey. It will require you to break down